And with that, I think Mr. Lars Herbst from MMS would like to speak a little bit about the activities. Thanks.
Thank you, Admiral Landry. First, I'd like to say that MMS continues to work with BP on all the various options related to source control on this incident. We continue to closely monitor the ongoing operations underway at the well site, while work continues to advance other options for capping the well above the blowout preventer stack. It's important that plans for any alternative operations to stop the flow of oil at the seafloor carefully reviewed by MMS engineers to ensure that procedures are conducted safely and minimize any risk of additional impact. As the drilling of the relief well progresses, which is going very well, MMS inspectors are monitoring activities on the drilling rig, which include the testing of the BOP stack system. At this time, MMS inspectors are continuing to conduct targeted inspections of all deep water production facilities. The other day I mentioned we had finished all the deep water drilling rig inspections. We're now doing the production facilities. This part of the safety review process was directed by the President and the Interior Secretary. The Department of Interior has established the Outer Continental Shelf Safety Oversight Board to provide recommendations regarding interim measures that may enhance OCS safety and recommendations for improving and strengthening the Department's overall management, regulation, and oversight of OCS operations. The Board will also provide oversight of the MMS regarding the joint investigation into this incident along with the Coast Guard. I should announce that investigation will formally commence next week in New Orleans. As soon as that investigation is complete, we plan to incorporate those recommendations into our program oversight. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Doug Suttles with BP.
Thank you, Lars and Admiral Landry. Before I provide additional details on our activities of the last 24 hours, I'd just like to express our thanks and appreciation for the over 8,500 responders in this event and the over 4,000 volunteers who are helping us. To give a sense of the interest in this incident, we've had over 35,000 calls to our hotline, almost half of those people expressing interest to volunteer to help. I think that just gives you some sense of the passion in the communities that are impacted by this spill. Over the last 24 hours or so, of course, the main area of interest has been around the containment dome. Yesterday evening, we lowered that to the seafloor and began to place it over the source of the leak. I think as we've stressed numerous times, this particular operation has never been done before at this depth. And we also shared that the big technical challenge was with hydrate formation. A hydrate is actually when gas combines with water under certain pressure and temperatures, it forms a crystal very similar to ice. What happened is we were placing the dome over the leak source. A large volume of hydrates formed inside the top of the dome, requiring us to move the dome to the side of the leak point. The dome is currently sitting on the seabed while we evaluate options to deal with the hydrate issue. We believe that it'll probably take the next 2 days to look for opportunities to try to overcome this challenge. In addition, we continue to progress other techniques to control the source of flow and ultimately stop the source of flow. These include activities to try to create a stoppage or plug up the existing blowout preventer to stop flow, or put a second blowout preventer or similar type valve on top of the existing equipment to stop the flow. Additional data will need to be gathered to see if these options are viable, and that work will also continue over the next 48 hours. Our relief well drilling continues. The relief well is now at approximately 9,000 feet and making progress actually ahead of plan. Onshore, I think the Admiral's already covered many of the details, but we deployed over 130,000 feet of boom yesterday. We're approaching 1 million feet deployed. We have over 2.3 million additional feet, either coming from existing stocks in the United States, Brazil, Spain, China, the United Kingdom, and other countries and across the United States, plus approximately 1 million feet coming from new manufacture. We are currently expecting to see about 25,000 feet of boom material being produced every day for this activity. As the Admiral's already covered, we have oil around Chandelier Island, and our shoreline cleanup assessment teams are responding to that. In addition, I think she's also covered that in certain areas what was originally reported as oil has been confirmed to be algae. Offshore, we did complete 5 successful burns yesterday. We actually skimmed over 17,500 barrels of an oily water mix, and we continued with our dispersant flights. And I would just end by saying our priorities remain the same. We're focused on stopping the flow. We're focused on minimizing the impacts, both environmental and economic, and about keeping the public informed of our activities. Thank you.
At this point, we'll go ahead and open up for questions. If you would just wait to be called upon, we'll and give you the microphone.
Ray Henry, Associated Press. Mr. Suttles, can you explain to us a little bit about the hydrates situation, what they are, what exactly happened last night, and what the status of the dome is now as you're thinking through this? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, so what we did last night was we lowered the dome. The dome had to be lowered quite carefully over the seabed. We actually were successful in placing it over the top of the leak site. But these gas hydrates are actually like crystals, like ice crystals. But of course they're lighter than water. What they did is formed on the inside of the dome, which tried to make the dome buoyant. And it also plugged up the top of the dome where the oil would come out of. So what we had to do was pick the dome back up, set it over to the side while we evaluate what options we have to actually try to prevent the hydrate formation or find some other method to try to capture the flow.
Hi, Campbell Robertson, New York Times. So there's been discussions of creating a new blowout preventer on top of the existing one, but the other technique you said was under consideration of plugging, I guess they call it a top kill or something, where you try to just plug the. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Yes, the other option we've been, in fact I should back up, since the beginning we've always had this strategy about we needed to find and progress multiple options because we didn't know which one would be successful. And it's all to do with we're working in 5,000 feet of water in a very difficult and challenging environment. So we've always progressed multiple options. One of those people refer to in the industry as what's called a junk shot. All that means is we take ground up material of various types and try to inject it into the blowout preventer at the bottom of it, and it'll flow up and plug it up. Some people have described it like stopping up a toilet. It's just that simple a concept. It has certain issues and challenges and risks with it, and that's why we haven't actually progressed that to this point, but we continue to look and see if that's going to be a viable option.
Erwin Seba, Reuters. Does this mean the containment dome has failed, or do you have are there options to make it work the way you planned for it to work?
Well, I wouldn't say it's failed yet. What I would say is what we attempted to do last night didn't work because these hydrates plugged up the top of the dome. What we're currently doing, and expect it'll probably take the next 48 hours or so, is seeing is there a way to overcome this problem. We did anticipate hydrates being a problem, but not this significant. There are numerous ways to manage hydrates. One is, can you provide heat down at this level so that they don't form, or can you can actually apply methanol is another way to manage hydrates. So our teams, and as Lars has already mentioned, working with MMS and across the industry, are looking to see is there a way to overcome this problem.
Timon Bradley with ABC News. Can you tell us if the report that 7 BP executives were on board the rig celebrating its safety record when the explosion occurred is true, and were you one of the people on there?
What I can confirm is actually there were 126 people on the rig at the time of the accident. As you know, 115 successfully evacuated the rig, and unfortunately 11 people are actually missing. Of the 126, 6 were BP employees. They ranged from fairly new, younger engineers all the way up to our Vice President of Drilling for the Gulf of Mexico. All 6 of those, thankfully, successfully escaped from the facility with no serious injuries. One of the reasons the more senior members were there were to discuss the safety performance of this rig. This rig had an outstanding record. I think it had gone over 2,500 days without a significant safety accident. And that was one of the reasons the more senior members were on the rig at the time.
Were you there, sir?
No, I wasn't. I was not there.
We still have a few minutes for a couple of follow-ups.
Ray Henry, Associated Press. About those documents that came out last night talking about the methane, possibility of that causing the accident. Is BP actively investigating a methane bubble as a potential cause of this
Yeah, I should probably clarify. There's as the Admiral and Lars have discussed numerous times, the government has an investigation. I think he gave an update on that a minute ago. We have an internal investigation trying to figure out what went wrong here, and I'm sure other groups do too. I'm not personally involved in that. My role in this instance since the very beginning is to manage our response, so I can't actually comment on the status of investigations.